Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And I have all the meditation books with me today, and I have my reading glasses, but I don't have my coffee. My coffee is sitting over there next to my computer. I was just working on some stuff. I was just like looking at the clock, and I'm like, it is 5:52. I don't have to start getting ready until like 6:30, 6:40 to go to my meeting tonight. And I'm like, I am early and on time today. I cannot believe it. I got up and I just started getting all my stuff done. I cleaned the kitchen a little bit. I'm just like so proud of myself today. So anyway, just had to acknowledge that little moment of some positive improvement in my life, because I am such a procrastinator, and I get up and I kind of just like linger and do this and do that. And I'm like, today I was like, okay, let's get some stuff done. I'm like, you know what? I've gotten a lot done today. I'm very proud of myself. All right, so let's get into the meditations today. I have the 3 meditation books. I'm going to start with A Year of Positive Thinking today by Cindy Spiegel. Let's see what it has to say. I'm really loving this book this year. I'm so glad I opened it right to the meditation. August 10th. But what I was saying was I'm really enjoying this book this year. An exercise in perspective. Write a letter to your future self. Tell yourself who you are today, what your greatest fears are, and what you believe in. What are your goals? What do you hope to get even better at? Give yourself advice and share life lessons. Seal up the letter and store it in a safe place. Set a reminder on your calendar to mail the letter to yourself 1 to 3 years from today. Yes, mail it. From years from now, you will open the letter and discover the perspective that can only come with time. It's really interesting, you know, I have to tell you, I was like sitting here thinking about like stopping the video and going and getting my journal, which is like right over there that I wrote in high school. I took this creative writing class in high school, and we had to like keep daily journal entries, and she would give us prompts. And one of the prompts was, where do you see yourself 20 years? Where would you like to see yourself 20 years from now? And I read it enough to know what it says, so I don't need to go read it. It's very short, actually. It's only like a paragraph. And basically what I said was, it was really interesting, you know, like thinking of myself at 17 years old, getting ready to turn 18 and going into the world, what I wanted, you know. I think in my mind's eye, what I thought I wanted was glitz and glam and living in New York City, you know, and traveling around the world and all this kind of stuff. And what I've realized over time is I am much more of a small town guy than I ever thought that I was, you know, and I'm much more simple than I ever thought that I was. Not to mention, or not to say that I don't like glitz and glam, because I do, and I think that's okay, you know. Not to say I don't like nice things in life and I don't like to travel the world, because I do. But I look at what that image of my life was like, you know, and what's interesting reading the journal entry is that I didn't say all the glitz and glam. What I said in my journal entry was that I hope that I was so afraid to come out of the closet. I was so afraid to be honest, even with myself, which is interesting because just like 2 months after I wrote the journal entry, I came out on my 18th birthday. But I said in my journal entry, I said, I hope that I am in love and spending my life with somebody that loves me in return. I wouldn't even say a guy. I said somebody, you know? And then the other thing that I said was that I hope that I'm financially secure and that I don't want for a lot, and that I'm surrounded by friends and family or something like that, you know? And I look back on that and I think, my desires for where I wanted to be, I'm doing something that I love. I think that was something else that I said, that I'm doing something that I love. And I actually even, I think, quoted my dad in there about like doing what you love, you know, because he had said that to me like just around that time. And, you know, do what you love and the money will follow. And if the money doesn't follow, at least you do something that you love. And so I think I said something in there about I hope I'm doing something that I love with my life. And, you know, I look at that and I think, it's very much like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. Like, I always, like, everything I needed to know was in my own backyard. Like, I always was that person, you know? I think that I very much, it was so interesting because last night I went over to my friend's house, and we had like this little dinner party with my sober girlfriends that we meet, on Monday nights. And we were like each sharing something. It got, real personal. And so I was sharing something and I just kind of I was like, oh, never mind, whatever. And Tanya said, my good Judy Tanya, she said, no, keep going. You're on to something. And I was talking about, just like my past and how it has affected me today and things like that, as far as how I look at the world from being like outside looking in to other people. I was talking about, But I think there has always been a part of me, or there was for a very long time, there was a part of me that felt like I needed to prove to those people that bullied me and put me down and chastised me and told me that I would never become something, which I even had teachers and counselors basically tell me that, that I had to prove that I had become something, that I was somebody, And then I remember going to my high school reunion. It would have been I think it was my 20th, because Alex went with me and we went with another friend. And all these people were like, oh my God, you have the coolest life, and blah, 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 which I really didn't think I did, And I had such a good time. And what I really realized was I wasn't ever proving anything to anybody else. I think I always felt like I had to prove, hey, look at me. Like the Romy and Michelle high school reunion thing. Look how grand I've become, Nobody cares anyway. The reality is you get older and nobody cares. They don't really care how grand you've become, okay? And if you do become that grand, I think the only thing that you're doing is making other people feel more insecure about their own lives, And what I realized through that whole situation was that people really just kind of liked me for me, The reason that I never got close to people in high school was the reality is, and this is just the truth, that in 1987 to 1990, when I was in high school, it wasn't the cool thing to be gay, okay? And it really still isn't today. And so no matter how much people had gotten close to me and get to know me, they were never going to be okay with that, because that always stood in the way of any kind of deep, meaningful friendship that I was going to have, except for with the 5 or 6 girlfriends that were my ride or dies in high school. We didn't even talk about it, but they knew, and they didn't care, But it stopped other people from getting to know me. And therefore, I felt because of that I always had to prove something to somebody else. I don't have to prove anything to anybody else today, Today, I live my life by the motto of be too much. I am myself today. I do what makes me happy, And I know that there are other people that don't like that. That's okay. We don't have to like everybody. You don't have to like everybody. There are people that don't like me. There's probably somebody out there watching this right now that doesn't like me. That's okay. You don't have to like me. I don't have to like everybody, and they don't have to like everybody, and we don't have to like everybody, right? And that's okay. But what I realized was that I think for a long time, my need to prove to other people, and my 20-year high school reunion would have been 2000 and I ain't got my glasses on, I can't do math. So I graduated in 90, so it would have been 2010. So that's when Alex and I, God, it's weird to think that we've been together. Alex and I have been together 13 years this month. That is crazy to think, And I realized I could just be myself, and people liked it, and that was enough. And it's funny when I look back on what I really wanted for myself 20 years down the road. What I really wanted was what everybody else had, or seemed to have. I wanted to just have a relationship. I wanted to just have friends and family that accepted me for who I was. I wanted to just be okay and be able to pay the bills and have a roof over my head. The things I wanted were maybe, to a lot of people, those things seemed like a big deal, but to me at that time, that didn't seem like a big deal. That just seemed like I wanted normalcy. I think that's really at the root of it, what I really wanted, Sad that I wouldn't have allowed myself to have that back then, because I was so afraid of what other people would say. And I think I've lived much of my life, but I stopped 5, 6, 7 years ago. I think being on YouTube has helped me so much with that and not caring so much. Sure, I'm always going to care what people have to say about things, but about certain things, like people saying stuff about my voice. It doesn't really even, that comment has literally no bearing on my life today. When I started on YouTube, it really did bother me, quite a bit. And I had heard it much of my life, people talking about my voice. And I've gotten so many positive comments to people talking about my voice too. It's like you can choose to see the positive, you can choose to see the negative in life. So it's interesting. I think, this is something I might do, write myself a letter and see, 3 years down the road, looking back on it. It's interesting doing inventory. I will say, like, written inventory. And when you do it, and you, like, I was talking to my friend Tanya about this last night when we were on the way to her house. It's like, when you do written inventory on something and you look back on it and you think, God, what bothered me 3 years ago, like, really doesn't bother me at all today. And that's the work that we do in this world, and taking a look at our part in it and taking away the control and the mystery and, realizing that I can only control myself and things like that. And what's my part in that, and asking myself that. But it's interesting looking back, especially having just done this huge inventory that I did and looking back, 26 years ago, 25 years ago when I did my very first inventory, and the things that were on there versus the things that are on there today. Hell, the things that were on there 25 years ago, those people aren't even in my life today. Things that were eating my lunch 25 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, a year ago. 80% of those people, 80% of those problems aren't even in my life today. We borrow so much trouble about things that have no bearing in our life long term, They just really don't. So I think that's a great meditation. All right, let's go look at the other two. Let's look at the other two and see what they have to say to us today. August 10th. Find places of healing. Find places of healing. Let's look and see what the language of letting go is about. This is a long one. Letting go of perfection. Let's talk about finding places of healing. Okay. August 10th, find places of healing. Find places of healing. Discover people, things, and places that nourish your soul. Bring you back to center, help you heal. Life is not an endurance contest. No, life is not an endurance contest. Not anymore. We are not in a race to see how long we can go without, how much we can go. We are not in a race to see how long we can go without, how much we can go without, how much pain we can stay in. Although sometimes we go through dry spells and droughts, we are not cactuses. There is a place in each of us that wants to heal, that can heal, that will heal. It's a peaceful place, one of nourishment, replenishment, peace, safety, comfort, and joy. It's a place of love and acceptance. It's a place of forgiveness, honesty, openness, nurturing, and kindness. You can find it quickly if that's what you're seeking. You will recognize it instantly because of how it feels. It will bring you back to center. It will bring you back to calm. It will bring you back to joy. Find places of healing, then go there often. They are yours for the asking, yours for the seeking. Healing places are an important part of the journey. I really like this meditation a lot, and I think people are healing places for me. I think that I have to allow myself to be open enough to trust people and have people around me that are my safe places. When I think about, like, healing places, I think about safe places. Like, what are safe places for you, And I think safe places for me are where I feel at home, with people that I can say and be myself as much as I want to be, unfiltered and unedited, and I can just be who I am and be my silly, goofy self or my crying self or whatever. It's crazy to think that, like, I think the more that I can only speak to my own experience with this, but the more that I have... I believe in the statement that, like, kind of like the older you get or the longer you've been sober, the narrower the road becomes. But in the opposite way, it's kind of like the more work you've done on yourself, the less, that you allow yourself to be dictated by others or worried about the outcome or, fearful or whatever, Once you work on more of that, the world becomes, I think, more of a healing place. I think one of the things that's interesting to me is when I get comments from people that talk about like me crying in videos, and they're like, you just, like, I don't understand how, like, you just cry. Like, YouTubers have said that to me, like, how do you, like, cry on video? And I'm like, I don't really think about it. It's just, like, something that happens when I'm feeling a certain, like, I allow myself to feel my emotions today. It's so freeing, Like, there were a time and a place when I literally would, like, be, like, getting ready to burst out laughing, and I'd just be like, you know what I mean, holding it in. And yet there were other times when people would say things, or I'd have an emotion, or I'd feel something, and I would want to burst out in tears, or burst out in anger. And I wouldn't let myself do that for so long, Because I was like, well, what will they think? what will they think? You know, what will they think? What will they think? What will they think? Who cares what they think? You know, my emotions and feeling my emotions authentically for myself is more important than how somebody else perceives it. It just doesn't matter. And being on YouTube has really kind of like freed that up for me, because to be honest with you, I'm like, if I can be myself and just, hey, let's just lay it all out there on a video, like especially in my vlog, I feel like I do that a lot, then it's like, I mean, I've talked about so many things on my vlog that I never 10 years ago would have ever thought that I would talk about in public, you know? And it's like, I mean, just from grieving to my recovery, to the finest details of the stories of my recovery, to, you know, my dad and how he looked at my early sobriety and my addiction and things like that, to, by coming out, to past relationships, to everything, you know? And it's like, the more that I've allowed myself to do that, the more that it has affected my personal life. And I've been able to do that in my personal life as well, you know? And the more I have attracted people that are similar to that, or the more that people that have been in my life that didn't feel comfortable doing that have kind of opened up to me more. And we have a more open relationship as a result of that. It's just fantastic. It's just fantastic, you know? So I think it's about finding your safe place, and finding people that are safe to you, I think, is definitely a huge part of that. So anyway, those were great meditations today. I loved both of those. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. My book is all folded over. In the comment section below. And hold on, get organized. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.